What is going on in the world? Well, Africa won its diamonds back. What's going on, guys? I am Sarah Garvey. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe as we get into this one. Now, during the old times, the colonial times, back when the Berlin Conference was a thing and Africa was carved up into little bitty pieces by Western powers. Back in those times, the diamond mines of Africa were given to a company by the name of De Beers. And De Beers owned a lot of the diamond mines of Africa. But was it a fair trade, or was it stolen? De Beers, as you can probably understand, owned most of the profits that came out of Africa from the diamond mining. However, the president of Botswana now has a different take. What he wants is that he wants his own minerals to be owned by his own people. Sounds very reasonable. However, there were some very tense talks going on between the president of Botswana and De Beers.
Botswana's president Mokgweetsi Masisi warned Sunday that his country could sever ties with diamond giant De Beers if talks to renegotiate a sales agreement prove unfavorable for his country. Botswana and De Beers have been trying to reach a new sales agreement since 2021, but talks have made little headway. Masisi's remarks, made at a rally of his ruling Botswana Democratic Party near the capital Gaborone, signal his country's frustrations with De Beers. Under the 2011 agreement, De Beers received 90% of the rough diamonds produced, while Botswana, Africa's largest diamond producer, received 10%. Speaking in both English and Tswana, Masisi called the 2011 agreement exploitative, saying the country was getting less than it should.
De Beers has renewed a deal to market diamonds from Botswana after negotiations with President Mokgweetsi Masisi's government went down to the wire over the continuation of a 54-year partnership between one of Africa's richest nations and the world's largest diamond company by value. The 135-year-old company, owned by Anglo-American, struck an agreement in principle with the Botswana government late on Friday for a new 10-year sales deal of rough diamonds produced by their Debswana joint venture and a 25-year extension to its mining licenses. Now, for everyone that doesn't know, these talks were going on for a while and it was tense. There were talks that, the Botswana president is going to walk away. Now, De Beers is not going to walk away from all of those diamonds because they have an invested interest for decades in those diamond mines. But what kind of deal did they strike? The two parties said in a joint statement that the transformational new agreement reflects the aspirations of the people of Botswana, propels both Botswana and De Beers forward, and underpins the future of their Debswana joint venture through long-term investment. The agreement will give the Southern African nation 30% of diamond output to sell through the state-owned Okavango Diamond Company, raising to 50% by the final year of the contract, De Beers said. The new terms shift in favor of the Botswana government compared with a 2011 agreement that gave it a 25% share. Those terms would remain in place under an interim agreement while the new deal is finished and the two parties announced on Friday. Masisi's government signaled that it had been ready to walk away if it did not receive a better production share in the talks with De Beers, which is 15% owned by Botswana. So what does this mean for Botswana? What it means is that the Okavango Diamond Company is going to be taking 30% of all of the diamonds that are mined and putting it through an African-owned company. And it is going to raise to 50% of the diamonds in the last year of production. That means that in 10 years' time, the Botswana government and the Botswana people will be owning 50% of all diamonds mined. Now, some people may say, okay, well, Sarah, it's only 50%. It's not 100%. Like I said, one step at a time. And it is a 10-year deal. And it is my personal opinion that the reason why it's a 10-year deal is because the president of Botswana is not stupid. Why? Because BRICS has just come on the horizon. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And as I have stated before on previous videos, at least 20 African nations are now starting to deal within their own currency, their own African currency, not the currency of the previous colonial masters. So 10 years, I actually believe that the reason why they've said 10 years is because they are looking and they are waiting to see how things change and what the landscape looks like in the next 10 years, because Russia and China are actually heavily invested now in a lot of Africa's resources. So the Botswana president is now taking 10 years to view what is going to happen. And I think they have De Beers running scared. I think that a country in Africa owning 50%, if you understand the deals, people have got to understand the deals that have been going on since colonization in Africa. Africa owns practically none of its production. It owns practically none of the minerals that are coming out. The minerals are in Africa, and they are shipped out to other countries, and they are mined by other countries, and they are owned by other countries. Many countries in Africa are still a slave to their former colonial powers. But in this instance, the president of Botswana will eventually own 50% of all diamonds traded. And for me, that is a great deal. That is something that the rest of these, in my opinion, the rest of these African leaders need to take into consideration when dealing with the Western powers. It is time, like I said, for Africa and for Africans to become more confident upon the world stage and actually start to demand certain things. And the reason why a lot of these African nations are demanding these things is because they are now backed financially by Russia and China. And maybe in the future, they will be backed militarily. Now, if an African country or an African nation has China and Russia as an ally, while the West is actually falling, things are going to look very interesting for the future of the world. The agreement comes after a challenging 4 months since Cook took charge of De Beers, as a diamond mining industry also faces a push by G7 nations to introduce a traceability system to identify Russian diamonds. The negotiations have raised uncertainty over the strategic value of the diamond miner for Anglo American. Berenberg analysts said last week that Anglo American should question whether De Beers should remain in the group portfolio for a number of reasons, including the likelihood of poorer economic terms resulting from negotiations. What does that mean? It means that De Beers are losing their foothold in African countries. They're losing their foothold in the mining of African minerals. They are losing, and so the West is saying, I don't know if we can really be guaranteed that De Beers is going to be on the world stage like it was. The only way De Beers was on the world stage like it was is because it was taking a deal from Africans that was in the detriment, or to the detriment, of the African government and the African people, while now the Botswana president is saying no more. Africa is moving forward. I've said this before on previous videos, and I've stated that Africans are becoming more confident upon the world stage. The West's grip upon Africa is slipping slowly but surely. Now, do I also believe that Russia and China are getting involved in Africa for their own financial benefit? Of course, this is capitalism. However, they are not doing it the same way the West and other Arab nations done it, with brute force, enslavement, colonization, and general disrespect for African people and the things in which they have to say. The other leaders of the other African nations are going to have to take heed. They are going to have to see that they no longer have to align with the West, and BRICS is a viable option for them. BRICS has become a leader, or is becoming a very interesting leader on the world stage, other than the G7 countries. The countries like, Japan, USA, Australia, the Great Britain, countries within the West. These other nations, India, China, Russia, South Africa, are now becoming just as strong. And I think what is going to happen is, when other nations become just as strong as the West, we are going to see isms and schisms and a fight for dominance amongst these people. Now, I don't think the West is going to relinquish its grip just like that. I think there may be more isms and schisms, and they will be clouded and shrouded in other things like, there's an African dictator, he's killing his own people, stuff like this. You're going to hear more and more, you're going to see more and more, I guess, proxy wars fought by the West and Russia and China when it comes to African nations. It's actually what is actually going on in Sudan right now. A lot of people don't understand that this is a proxy war, a war that's being funded by both Russia and America. A lot of people don't understand. Maybe I should actually do an episode on what is actually going on in Sudan. But what I want people to understand is, basically, Africa is becoming stronger. African leaders are propping up their people, and they're propping up their leaders, and they're saying, look, we matter, here we are, take us seriously. And I'm here for it. I have been Sarah Garvey. Thank you all for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe as we keep asking what is going on in the world. It is getting a little bit more crazy and a little bit more interesting, but I'm going to be here to document it all. Yo, I'm going to catch you all on the flip side.